Africa, the second largest continent, has abundance of natural resources. Due to this continent witnessed many conflicts and struggles between different parties. In 1899, Sudan came under Anglo-Egyptian rule. Officially, it was a joint rule, but British held a dominant control. If we look at the demography, the southern parts have African Christian majority, while the northern parts were primarily dominated by Arab Muslims. Even though it was a single colonial entity, the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, the British intentionally isolated south from the north by restricting movement and trade between the regions. This was done to preserve their natural and cultural identity and to limit northern, or you can say Arabian Muslim influence. British promoted English and Christian missionary education in the south, while Arabic and Islamic institutions dominated the north. When this Anglo-Egyptian rule came to an end in 1956, almost all the political and economical power was concentrated in north. This is because the northern parts have direct access to open seas for trade through the Red Sea, and colonial government carried out investments and developed this region for their economical gains. Even being richer in raw and natural resources, southern region was getting nothing but exploitation. So, the colonial policies created two Sudans. First is a politically empowered, economically developed north with Arab Muslim majority, and second is a marginalized and culturally distinct south with Christian majority. During its independence, the colonial government wanted a quick and clean withdrawal. And to ease it out, they intentionally excluded the southern leaders from the independence talks. They left this country as a united nation without taking care of their cultural and regional autonomy. And for many historians, it was a historical blunder. And there is one more important thing. The first Sudanese civil war had already been started in 1955, a year before the formal independence. And obviously this was between South and North Sudanese groups. The key reason for this war was power struggle. Southern groups wanted federalism and regional autonomy, while the northern government, situated in Khartoum, insisted on centralized control. And this lack of compromise led to a rebel movement fought for the independence of South. During this time, Sudan's official army, the Sudanese Armed Forces or SAF, gained tremendous power, and it brought down leader after leader in military-led coups. This first civil war lasted for 17 years, killing hundreds of thousands and displacing millions. It ended with Addis Ababa Agreement in 1972, granting limited autonomy to South. But the peace was temporary. In less than 10 years, Second Civil War broke out. This Second Civil War wasn't a new fire. It was the same fire reignited. Reasons were same: imposition of Sharia law across Sudan and control over oil-rich southern regions. This second war was a brutal 22-year conflict with estimated killings of 2 million people. During this time, in 1989, an army officer, Omar al-Bashir, captured power and appointed himself the head of the state, a role he would keep for next 30 years. He, with the help of SAF, cracked down heavily on southern militia groups. But another war front was about to open. Darfur is located in western Sudan, bordering Chad and Central African Republic. It's home to a mixed ethnic African farming communities and Arab nomadic tribes, and also some non-Arab African groups like Fur, Mesolite, and Zagwa. People here accuse Sudanese government of neglect and discrimination, and rebel groups rose up against Khartoum. And to control this, al-Bashir government designed something new: the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed were Arab tribal fighters mobilized by Sudanese government in the early 2000s to crush rebellion in Darfur. In 2005, the war at Southern Front came to an end, culminated to signing a peace agreement that called for referendum in 2011. In this peaceful referendum, 99% of the southern Sudanese people voted for independence, owing to which South Sudan became a sovereign nation. And this independence took away many oil resources from the control of al-Bashir government, and the economy started stagnating. The conflict in Darfur was still ongoing. The Janjaweed committed mass killings, rapes, kidnappings, and forced millions to displace. Due to these crimes, the Janjaweed and al-Bashir government were later accused by International Criminal Court for killing over 300,000 people and displacing another 2 million, primarily from Fur, Muslit, and Zagwa ethnic groups. And with this, al-Bashir became the first sitting head of the state to be charged with crime against humanity and genocide. In 2013, Bashir government restructured Janjaweeds, giving them a official status, the Rapid Support Force or RSF, headed by Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemeti. And to maintain his loyalty and crush the Darfur uprising, Bashir allowed Hemeti to take control of some of the gold mines in Darfur. About 60 to 70% of the government budget was being allocated to security sector. While Bashir and his allies were getting rich, civilians were not happy. 2019 saw a widespread public protest against Bashir's regime, driven by economic collapse, political repression, and demand for democratic reforms. Seeing al-Bashir's weak position, RSF and SAF, headed by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, took a surprising move. They jointly carried out a coup and took over the control of Sudan. Burhan, being an army leader, became a de facto leader of Sudan, while Hemeti was second in line, the thing he couldn't accept. Within a short time, the differences and clashes started to appear. Burhan took leverage of his military might while Hemeti used his financial power. They both placed hundreds of thousands of army men in entire country, and a power struggle between two generals would soon escalate to a full-scale war. Now, over 2 years of war has drastically worsened the conditions, displacing over 12 million people and leaving 30 million, more than half of the Sudanese population, in need of humanitarian support. Sudan now represents world's largest and fastest displacement crisis in the world. And it is also the world's largest humanitarian crisis ever recorded. Rather than advancing diplomacy, the outside powers are fueling the conflict by funneling weapons to their allies. Sudan bleeds not just from bullets, but from the scars of history, greed, and global silence.